All right, welcome back to the Williams, Elleby, Howard, and Easter YouTube channel. I'm Joel, and this is Mark. And today we want to talk about, can you trust online settlement calculators? And I would say to some extent, yes, but to a large extent, no. And the reason that we're going to argue today that you probably can't for the most part is that settlement calculators are based off of artificial intelligence, and they cannot understand the true value of something. They might be able to add and subtract cost, but understanding the real value of something is beyond the capabilities of settlement calculators now. And then that's the first reason. The second reason is that most online settlement calculators are marketing tools that companies use to try to clickbait you into their company, and then they will sell your information to law firms who will then reach out to you and try to get you to hire them. So two reasons, but first let's address the cost versus value, Mark.
Well, cost versus value are two different concepts, and lawyers like to come up with words for everything, and typically, and the lawyer words are economic damages and non-economic damages. And economic damages, which would be cost, is something you can have a receipt for. Mm-hmm. It might be the medical bills, it might be your lost wages, that kind of thing. But the value of something, which is also called non-economic, is more intangible, mm-hmm. and it's what's in here. And it's very specific to how jurors feel individually and how they feel as a group. And it's very specific to the person who's been harmed, because what might be valuable to them might not be valuable at all to somebody else.
Yeah. Mark and I were talking about this earlier, and Mark gave me the example before we turned the video on of pinky finger. So as a lawyer, would it suck if somebody cut off my pinky finger? Yes. I would not enjoy that at all. However, the value of my pinky finger to me is probably less than the value of a pinky finger to a concert pianist. Right? Like, that is one of the most valuable areas of his or her body, right? And I was also thinking about, let's say it's a pocket watch that's passed down to you through generations, and your great-grandfather and your grandfather and your dad, and then you turned 18 years old and your dad gives it to you and says, son, now you're a man, here's the family heirloom. Well, that pocket watch may cost $5, $10, whatever, but the value of that pocket watch to the person that's receiving it and that has it as part of a family heirloom and family treasure is immense. So even though they could only take it to the pawn shop and pawn it for $10, the value to them may be $1 million, right, or more. Mm-hmm. And so if we look at personal injury cases, the tendency for us and juries is to want to be able to punch numbers into a calculator and add them up and divide and subtract and do all that kind of stuff. And that's so easy to do when you've got $10,000 in medical bills and $5,000 of lost wages. You go 10,000 plus 5,000 equals $15,000. Easy, right? However, if the $10,000 of medical bills are associated with an injury that caused somebody to have a brain injury that is never going to get better, and it can't be fixed no matter how much medical treatment this person receives, and they're a lawyer, an accountant, a doctor, a teacher, anybody who uses their brain for work, well, the value of that person's brain to them is immensely higher than $10,000 in medical bills. So the $10,000 in medical bills may be the cost of going to the emergency room and riding in the ambulance, but the value of this case in the personal injury world to someone whose life has been destroyed, when everything they know and love is based upon their ability to think and reason and use logic, it's totally different.
Yeah, this reminds me of a case I tried in Gwinnett County about 7 or 8 years ago. It was a wrongful death case of an older woman who was also very sick when she went into the hospital. But there was no question at all that the hospital messed up. No question at all. But she died so quickly that the medical bills were very, very low. And the defense had argued that, she was old and sick when she went in. Very cynical argument, but that's what they argued. But it turned out the jury saw the value of her life, even though her lifespan was not going to be that long. She could have died in a matter of weeks. But they felt the value of that limited time robbed her of the opportunity to say goodbye to family members. Those would have been her last weeks on earth, and that even though it was short in time, the value of it was immense.
Yeah, like the next 2 weeks of time, hopefully I live much longer than 2 more weeks, but if a doctor comes in and tells me, hey, Joel, you have 2 weeks to live, the value of those 2 weeks in my mind just went up significantly, as opposed to if I'm hoping I'm going to live another 40 or 50 years. Then those 2 weeks, yeah, they're valuable to me, but, I got more weeks other than that. And so, yeah, totally get that. And so the problem with using settlement calculators to, you put in my injuries moderate, was hurt in the state of Georgia, it was in Cobb County, I have $5,000 in medical bills, and then the settlement calculator spits you out a number. Give me a break. Like, you have to be able to look at the value element of it and understand what that injury is valued at for that particular person. Because if Mark is injured and I'm injured in the exact same way, the value that our lives have lost are going to be different because we're different people. And our job as lawyers is to explain this to the jury and help the jury empathize and understand what our particular client has gone through, and what the value of that injury is to them. And sometimes it's not just juries, sometimes it's insurance companies. And the reason, if you've ever dealt with a personal injury claim and you've gotten lowballed by an insurance company, the reason why is because they're using settlement calculators and they're putting in these different variables, and it says this case is worth between $10,000 and $15,000.
And that's one of the big differences between what we do and an insurance company does. Is an insurance company looks at this as a business, and they see all these claims spread out across the country, and they're trying to figure out, well, what's the range that we should settle this case for? But as lawyers who represent individuals, it's our job to get to know our clients, and it's our job to get the jury to know our clients. And there's no way any sort of AI or any sort of calculator is going to be able to replace that. Artificial intelligence is never going to replace real empathy and real human feelings and understanding. It can't. So cost versus value, and cost and value are two completely different things, and that's why settlement calculators are inherently flawed, is because they miss and are incapable of fully understanding and assigning accurate numbers to the value element of personal injury cases. The second reason you shouldn't trust them is because most of these settlement calculators are created and placed on marketing websites under the guise that they're giving you good legal advice and suggestions. And then they bait you in and they say, just put your information in here and we'll tell you what your case is worth. And then you put your information in there, and then all of a sudden you're getting calls from 5 different law firms. Well, guess what just happened? When you hit submit, you agreed to allow that company to sell your information to law firms, and then they're calling you trying to get you to hire them. So it's not just a inaccurate tool, it's a misleading tool where they say, we're going to give you this value, but then they're going to actually sell your information to somebody else and make money off of what you put into a calculator that's not giving you accurate advice or information to begin with. Sure, and oftentimes the same lawyers who are going to use those calculators and as a way of a fishing expedition to get clients may not be looking at their clients as individuals as well. They may be looking at them as numbers, just like the calculators do.
That's right. It's a lazy way out to not have to get to know your clients and to just try to assign numbers to it and get away from that human element. So when you've been injured, if you don't take anything else away from this video, yes, get in touch with a lawyer. Avoid settlement calculators because they are inherently wrong. And they also don't take into account the trial ability and the legal skill and acumen of the attorney that you need to talk to, because you do need to talk to an attorney. And any good attorney will tell you whether you need to hire them or not. If you get hard sold on an attorney, then that's a huge red flag. But set up appointments with 2 or 3 different law firms. Go in and talk to the attorneys if you can. If you can't get to the attorney, that's another red flag. But set up the meetings, see who you're comfortable with, have human conversations with them, and get a feel for how they're going to approach your case, whether they're listening to you, whether they are just preaching to you, or how they're handling that interaction, because that'll let you know how they're going to handle your case. But set those meetings up, get the advice of an attorney, hire one that you feel comfortable with, or if those attorneys tell you, hey, this is something that you can probably handle on your own, you don't need us, just go do 1, 2, and 3, then there you go. At least you've made a connection with a lawyer that might be able to help you in the future if you ever do have a case that needs a lawyer. So avoid the settlement calculators, set up in-person meetings with attorneys, find out what the variables are that should be considered when trying to determine what your case is worth, and then go from there. At least then you're not relying on a technology that does not have the ability to factor in the human element that's going to come into play throughout your case, with interactions with the defense attorney, with interactions with the judge, interactions with the jury.
Yep, that's exactly right. Our business is a human business, and in our country, juries get to decide the facts of cases and the value of cases. And so when it's a human enterprise, you have to approach it from a human standpoint.
That's right. All right, well, we hope this video has been helpful to you. If so, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button and the bell button, or whatever other little buttons you need to push to get notifications about all the personal injury videos that we produce here at Williams, Elleby, Howard, and Easter. But otherwise, we will see you in a couple of weeks. Personal injury lawyers, we love what we do, and we're happy to share the experience we've gained in personal injury law. To help our family, friends, and YouTube subscribers, we've shared over 300 personal injury videos covering various injury topics. So if you'd like to gain more knowledge that may help protect yourself or a loved one when you're on the roads or out in public, check out our channel or view our playlist of shorts for quick personal injury tips.